Damn, it's been so long since I saw this show. Oh well. I don't want to just start off in the middle of the season. I guess I'll see what else is on. Oh, my favorite fucking program. People getting hit by trucks. Ooh. Here we go. Huh? Oh. Hello, everyone. Don't mind me. I'm just catching up on some TV. I know it's been a bit. I don't really have an excuse. I've just been spending my time playing Oblivion, Remastered, and Clay Obscure Expedition 33, both of which are great. Today, though, we are starting a new series where I go through and showcase a handful of indie games. The rules are simple. Every time I do this, I have to play at least an hour of each game. I might do different themes each time to mix it up for this vid, but today I'm going to be doing 5 niche indie games. The criteria for the niche here is pretty simple. All the games have to have under 1K reviews on Steam at the time of me playing them. I will also link each game in the description below, so if you find one you like, you are more than free to go and give the developer some support and play their game. Now, without further ado, I'm just a curious skeleton, and let's get started. The first game we have is called Callum's Curse: Lost Report, a turn-based RPG inspired by Japanese dungeon crawlers from the late 90s in the real-life Kowloon walled city. It is a free game that serves as a prequel to Callum's Curse, an upcoming game from the developer Studio Notes, which is a small studio of friends that have been making games since high school, which is always a charming story. This game was originally supposed to release back in 2022, but due to the nature of game development, that's been pushed back a good bit. But they're still working hard on it. There's also a small visual novel set in this world called Apartment 14B, for anyone interested in this world. I know I'll be going through it eventually. Now, I actually ended up going past playing for an hour and beat this game, as it's fairly short. I ended up finishing it in around 3 hours. I will refrain from spoiling things too hard though, as I generally love this game and world that is being set up, and I recommend it to anyone, especially fans of things like the Silver Case and 25th Ward, as there is very clear inspiration there, all the way down to the exact sound effects and UI designs. As you start the game, you wake up in this strange office room where you take a test. This test essentially determines your starting stats. You have 3 stats which are shown to you on a chart in the menu: Battle Tendency, Mythopoetic Worldview, and Nautical Affinity. To break these down in a more simple way, it's essentially Brawler, Philosophical, and Hacker, from what I've gathered. After that, you wake up in your apartment. One goal on your mind: go to the phone and get your next assignment. Your name is Tony Manslaughter, and you work for a gangster called the Inspector. Your best friend is his son, Sergio, who, while a bit insufferable, is your childhood friend. The game starts with you getting told to get a briefcase from a club called Echoes in the Rooster District. You go and get Sergio and make your way there, where of course, things don't go to plan. Now that's where I'll leave off on this story, as I want people to experience it for themselves. The game does have plenty of freedom, especially for a small, free indie game. There's a handful of side quests that include falling for a phone scam or delivering a package to someone dressed like a Roman soldier so you can get access to a hitman site. There's drastic choices you can make. In my first run, I used that hitman site previously mentioned to kill off a major character, just to see if I could. And indeed, I could. There's secrets to find, like going to the back room of a convenience store and ending up in a seaside village where you eat a substance from a statue that then lets you see these special spirits, who also run a research facility nearby. Catacombs, where you can find movie theaters or what appears to be a statue of some type of godlike being. There's a lot in this game for what it is. It's a really nice little condensed small package. This game is also full of fun and absurd pop culture references and humor. You hear people talk about the podcast host, Shogun Show. You can watch a parody of Rick and Morty on TV, which you saw at the beginning of this video. You'll run into a guard that looks like a phone booth, who will get offended if you bribe him with a phone card but will still let you through and take it. The game balances the absurd and creepy very well, crafting such a unique experience and world that I cannot wait to get to learning even more. The soundtrack of this game is a blast, particularly the little intro that happens when you start up the game. I never skip that. I watch it every time. It's such a blast. It once again captures that absurd, over-the-top, creepy feeling of the city very well. Also, I hate to admit it, but Sergio's mixtape is indeed a bop. Gameplay-wise, the game is turn-based. You'll mostly be fighting alongside Sergio, who just uses his gun, and often misses. You have your basic attack, in which you can punch or shoot at the enemy. Then you have your skills, which are a bigger physical attack, hacking things on the person, giving them a gunpowder-filled cigarette, and the best for last. Plato's Last Refutation, where you philosophize an enemy until they poof into non-existence. Honestly, that should be enough reason to play the game alone. You heal with energy drinks, so make sure to keep those stocked as you do not have a lot of health. You can also give enemies items, such as cigarettes, which they will smoke and hurt themselves while being distracted, or a battery, which they might need for some device they have, or they might eat it and damage themselves. I just really love these little absurd things that the game has. Overall, Calum's Curse, Lost Report, really feels like a labor of love. And even if it's not for you, I feel like anyone who plays it can feel and appreciate that care. I look forward to the future of this studio, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it. For the next game, we have Hood Story, Kaito Yamazaki. This one is an open-world action beat-em-up, inspired by the likes of Yakuza and Shenmue. Now when I say open-world, I mean like 2 streets to explore, and by Shenmue inspired, I mean stuff like you can literally get a job as a forklift driver. This is another very small game. Also another one that I just went ahead and fully beat, which took me, once again, just under 3 hours. Also, I forgot to press start recording when I played the first hour of this, so all the footage is from the second hour, as I could not be bothered to redo it. Story-wise, this game is very simple and very predictable. You play as 20-year-old Kaito, you're a leader of a gang, and with your brother back from Germany, Kaito wants to quit and live a normal life. Your brother gets put into a coma by a mystery assailant soon after, and you go from there. I think anyone who plays this game will be able to guess the plot and twist within like the first 5 minutes of the game, but nevertheless, I'll leave that to you. The dialogue in this game is also very generic and often corny, paired with AI voices for the English translations. It makes the lines way funnier than they have any right to be. And that is a thing with the game, it does use AI voices, even if it only is for English, as the original language is French. Which could also be why the translation is so basic oftentimes. The game also has a disclaimer on its Steam page about this use of AI. Either way, if that use of AI bothers you enough to not pick up this game, I understand. Gameplay wise, whenever you get into a fight, you get a loading screen and put into a side-scroller-esque arena to fight a group of enemies. The combos are pretty standard. Press light attack a couple times and then the heavy attack. I did like the backswing and charge attacks though, as it helps control enemies coming from both directions in this little arena. In case you didn't notice, blood effects in this game are also ridiculous. There's a good handful of mini-games in this game, and they're all incredibly simple. You'll probably master or get the high score on your first time playing them. But them being there at all is nice, and adds way more life to the game. To go back to fighting, weapons in this game are overpowered. Enemies will attack you with 3 different ones: bats, knives, and pistols. The bats are whatever though, and once you beat a guy, you can pick up his weapon and use it for a selected number of swings or shots, like in Yakuza. The bat is the only one of these weapons that does not one-shot enemies. Both the knife and gun just kill enemies instantly. Speaking of the gun though, the enemies with them make the gun enemies in Yakuza look lovable. It is so easy to get endlessly shot and juggled by a gun enemy in this game that almost all of my handful of deaths in the game resulted solely from that. There's no leveling in this game. You can learn more combos at the dojo, but besides that, what you start with is what you got. You also don't heal in between fights, so if you forget to rest or eat and heal, you can easily enter another fight with no help and die. In some story sections, this just means restarting the fight. Other ones, it means getting sent to the hospital, which is in your home city, which can be really annoying if you're in the other city that isn't your home one. What makes it so annoying is the way to get to the other city is through the subway. And once you are on that subway, you either wait 5 actual real-life minutes to get to the other city, or you do a fight, and you end up there after it ends. This makes traveling a good bit more annoying, especially if you do not want to risk a fight. And I did both, so it is an actual 5 minutes I took the time and I waited at least twice to see. Honestly, despite this game not doing anything new, or doing anything old particularly great, I love it. It's just a simple game, made by presumably one guy who just loved games like Yakuza and Shenmue. And to me, that's what gaming is all about. Make the things you love, even if they aren't great at first. That's how you improve. It's also why, even if it's not a masterpiece, I find this game so full of charm and soul. When I play it, I can feel its inspirations and how this person cared for them. For like $13 on Steam, it's definitely worth a couple of hours of enjoyment, especially if you love games like Yakuza. The developer is also making another Hood Story game, so I look forward to seeing how they improve. Next up, we have Nitro Kid, a roguelike deck builder set in a cyberpunk world with a really good synthwave soundtrack. Story-wise, it's pretty bare bones and simple like most roguelikes. You're trying to save some kids and take down the evil Infinity Corporation. Gameplay-wise, its gimmick is its grid-based levels and movement. Each level has its enemies already spawned in, and you choose where to drop in. From there, you string attacks and attempt to move around the grid in ways that avoid attacks. You start with a special type of power called an infusion. You can get up to 2 of these. You get them by saving kids each level. Or, you can choose to recharge your current infusions, as each one has a set number of charges. You can use their ability once per turn. Each of the 3 characters starts with their own one. Level-wise, you essentially have 15 rooms per floor, and you get to the boss level by saving both kids on each level and clearing the way to the elevator. The elevators are always kind of at the end of 2 rows of 5 rooms, so at minimum you essentially have to clear through 10 rooms to get to the boss. Of course, in standard roguelike fashion, not all of these rooms are fights. You have shops and events mixed in. Events are super simple in this game, and mostly boil down to choosing an option to get cash, upgrade a card, or heal. Shops are also pretty standard. You can choose from a handful of cards to buy, or choose to upgrade one of your pre-existing ones. You also have the option to remove a card or upgrade a patch. Patches are essentially the relics of this game. They give you passive upgrades and stuff. You can only do these things once per shop though. Now this game has 3 playable characters: Lee, Jax, and Kay. Lee is the character you start off with, and the easiest to play. His playstyle is all about quickness and fluidity, stringing long combos together, and gain a ton of movement to constantly play around enemies and attacks. Jax is all about building a specific combo meter he has. Where attack cards build it up and certain cards can only be used once you have hit a certain combo number. He's a much slower and more patient playstyle, all about power and counters. He also has a specific counter mechanic, where on enemy turns, he can hit the enemy back if they are adjacent to him and attacking. You can also get cards and abilities to make this counter stronger. Kay is about range and tech. She's more about keeping her distance and gunning down enemies. She has an ammo counter alongside her energy, so you need to remember to manage that and use reload cards when necessary. Most of her cards use up that ammo alongside her energy. She also has a unique stance mechanic. She starts off each battle in the handgun stance, which has no passive benefit. It's just her default mode. She also has a rifle stance, which makes her attacks deal double damage. You can't play attack or move cards that don't cost ammo. You also need specific cards to change stances, and only use specific cards for each stance. This makes her the hardest to play of the 3, as you really need to learn how to manage these stances while keeping an eye on ammo and your available cards. You can also check what stance she is next to her hero profile, where it will display a handgun or rifle icon. All in all, I find all 3 characters very fun to play, with each one feeling a good bit different from each other. I've put like around 4 hours into this game, as it's one I've had for a little bit. Nitro Kid is not anything super deep or complex, but that is half the joy of it. It's a nice little relaxing roguelike that you play a couple of rounds to relax as you listen to its soundtrack. I recommend it to anyone who's a fan of roguelike deck builders. Have you ever wanted to live your true purpose in life? To be a Japanese delinquent whose goal is to rule the world, but first you need to take over your high school gangs? No? Just me? Well, anyway, if that does interest you, the next game is Bancho Tactics. I should also just quickly mention the other games in this showcase except the next one have all finished updating. They are in their final states. This game wears its inspiration on its sleeves, mainly inspired by the Crows manga, but also by things such as River City Boys and Final Fantasy Tactics. The game starts off with the strongest delinquent, known as the Onishura King, and the leader of a gang called the Onishura Empire, who saw that one coming, having graduated. Due to this, the three high schools, Minato, Sake, and Makamura, once again enter a power struggle to determine who the next strongest will be. You play a character called Taiga, who's pretty standard as far as delinquent protagonists go. He doesn't talk much, he has a troubled home life, and he wants to take over the world. Maybe that last one isn't that standard, but he just says at the beginning of the game, there's much context added to it. Hell, he honestly doesn't even have much ambition or plans for it. His friend just says they should probably start with the high schools first, and he goes along with it. The friends in this game are also pretty standard in terms of personality. They each follow a pretty standard set of tropes, but they're all charming in their own little ways, even if they aren't that deep. Gameplay-wise, it's a tactics game. Think of a simplified version of something like Fire Emblem. You have your units. They each have their own moves and ways they can attack on a grid-based system. The gimmick of this game is blood types, which just works like Pokemon types. Each character has one. Duh. AB is strong against O is strong against A is strong against B, and B is strong against AB. And of course, it also works in reverse, where AB attacks are weak against B, etc. I'm not really into the tactics genre of turn-based games. I've only played like Fire Emblem Three Houses, and even then, I can tell this is a very simplified version of tactics gameplay, similar to how Kaido's gameplay was to Yakuza. That being said, it is a small indie game with seemingly 2 developers. 2 are listed on Steam at least. So it's to be expected, not really a knock on them. Every character has a movement option, a basic attack, and a special attack. Special attacks can be upgraded with BP, which acts as the currency for everything in this game, including item and stat upgrades for every unit. It is also universally shared and not character specific, so be careful how you spend them. In terms of unit variety, I played this game for about an hour and a half, and I have 6 units total as of my stopping point, 5 of which you can take into fights at any given time. It does seem as if there is only one healer in the game, so if you play this, remember that, so you don't put him on the sideline thinking you'll get someone better later on. The game progresses essentially as such. You get a little cutscene with some dialogue, characters get into a fight, and boom, you have your level. Once you beat that level, you get a version of it in a little mode called Fight Club, which is essentially just replaying slightly varied versions of the original levels again, for more XP and BP. After you beat a level, you just get an option to go to the next one, which is how the story progresses. Going off reviews again, it seems that this game does get a bit grindy, as everything, even basic stuff, costs a decent bit of BP, and fights honestly do not give you that much. To put it a bit into perspective, the very first basic items at the shop, which barely boosts a stat or 2, cost 800 BP apiece. Beating like the 4th or 5th levels in this game gives you 400 BP, same with its Fight Club counterpart. Add on to that, as I mentioned, everything costs BP and it's universally shared between all characters, so you burn through it insanely quickly. To even upgrade a character's first special move for the very first time, you need 12,500 BP. It gets kind of ridiculous very fast. The game's art style is very charming, once again wearing those manga and game influences on its sleeves. In particular, I really like just how much artwork there was for even basic enemy grunts. I can almost always tell which profile pic was which sprite because there's seemingly a fairly unique look for each one. It's a relatively small thing, but it'll be very easy to have like 2 pieces of artwork that represent every single grunt. So I really like that they put in the effort to differentiate them a good bit. All in all, this game is once again very clearly a passion project made by people who love the Japanese delinquent genre. I was disappointed that it is mainly just a cutscene and then level, and that's all for the story. For these kinds of games, I think a social system really helps sell the vibe they're going for. Let me actually hang out with friends so it feels like a real little gang. Let me go out to eat, take classes, work out and such to increase my stats, instead of everything just being connected to BP. I think something like the Friends of Ringo Ishikawa captures the often bittersweet tones of the delinquent genre a lot better. All that said, I do think the game still has charm, and for a starting point, it shows plenty of promise. I recommend this game for anyone who's really into tactical games to the point you even like very basic versions of those systems, and to anyone deep into the delinquent genre that has already played all the other games like Ringo and such. Last, but certainly not least, we have Peripeteia, an MSIM set in an alternate history, cyberpunk version of Poland. Imagine a mix of Deus Ex, Ghost in the Shell, and Ergo Proxy. Unlike the other games, this one is in its infancy and is still getting regular updates as a result. This game is beautiful, and of all the games, the one I just kept stopping and admiring frequently. Alongside its great soundtrack, it instantly transports you into its dystopian world. You play as a cute anime android and are immediately thrust into missions. You get a basic weapon and have augmentations to help you complete them. In typical MSIM fashion, you can tackle missions in a variety of ways. Once again, typical of the genre, you have a limited grid-based inventory in which each item is a certain arrangement box for you to fit it into your inventory. This is not an easy game. It's hard and it's very janky. Everyone, including you, dies in one to a few shots. So make sure to save frequently, as there's no autosave at all, so you can very easily lose a lot of progress. To be quite honest, I suck at this game. I barely got deep into the first mission, and playing it, getting footage for this and such, forgot to save a couple times and had to start the game over twice. You really can just be progressing smoothly and die out of nowhere to jank or some enemy. The levels of this game also pretty vast and very empty. Personally, I think it adds to the atmosphere. But if you don't like big empty spaces, long hallways, and elevator rides, then this is probably not for you. I would let this one cook a bit more in the oven before picking it up, but I would definitely recommend it to anyone who likes MSIM, or just cyberpunk dystopias, or just really beautiful games, to be honest. I really hope this grows into something special, like it seems it will be. Alright everyone, that wraps up this showcase. Honestly, this video took a lot longer than I thought it would, mainly due to me playing other stuff and work, but also just underestimating the time it would take for the little project itself. I hope you found at least one game that interested you. I'm just a curious skeleton, and I'll see you next video.